Hey there, welcome back to this third video in our little copper chain making series. Today we're going to be looking at making something called the butterfly pattern, which looks a little bit like this. Let's see how it goes. First, we're going to make some jump rings like we did in our last two videos by taking our copper wire and wrapping it tightly around our piece of doweling as many times as we can. Loosen, pull it off, separate slightly, and then use these side cutters to cut the rings until you have a nice big pile of little jump rings that look like that. Once you've got a nice little pile of rings made, it's time to get started. The first thing to do is to join two rings to each other with two other rings, kind of like we did at the very beginning of the box pattern. So we're just gonna join those together, and we'll put that second one on there and close that up so that we have our little starter set. I'm going to attach the chain to my board right off the bat so that everything stays in the right place. So I've hooked it on here, and I've hooked it on to the other side of the first set of rings, and like we did with the box pattern, we're going to fold that second set of rings back out of the way for now. And that's going to make the next step a little easier. The next step is to take two single rings and attach one to each one of these two rings right here. So I'm just going to push that in between those two, take my pliers and close that one up. And then I'm going to take my second ring and go through the other one and take my pliers and close that one up as well. And there we go. The next step is to fold those two rings back over, take the hook off, and now try to hook it through all of those rings at once. And what it should look like is it should have one stacked top and bottom and then one sticking out on each side, kind of like that. The next two rings are going to go through three rings each. So they're going to go through the one on the bottom, and then a single one on one side, and then the one on the top, like that. And close that one up. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So it's coming up through the bottom, through all three of those rings. So this is going through the bottom one and the top one, the one in the middle that's off to one side, and then close that one up as well. So now you've got the beginning of the pattern. We've got our two starting rings, the other two rings right here, and then we have these ones that are offset, one on each side, and then these two that we've just put in. One's going through the top and bottom one, and the out-jogged one on this side, and the other one's going through the top and bottom one and the out-jogged one on this side. Then we're just going to put a single ring here and a single ring here. So a single ring on the outside of that one, and then another single ring on the outside of that single one that's sort of out-jogged from the middle. This is going to give us four rings all lined up with each other. So we now have four rings here, ready for the next level. And the next level means that we're going to run a single ring through all four of those and close that up. And then another single ring through all four of those, like that. Close. So now what we've got is sort of the first wing of the butterfly pattern. We've got our two initial rings that we started out with here, and then we've got our set of four here, and then four here, and then another two. And we're just going to repeat this pattern in a mirror image on this side. But instead of attaching them directly, I'm actually going to take this set off and start again, and then when I'm ready, I will attach it to this piece, because it will be hard to move in the opposite direction, doing the 4 rings and then linking those 4 rings with the 4 sideways. It's easier to start again with a new set of 2 and 2. Now what I need to do is take those 2 rings from our first set and open them up and have them go through all 4 of the rings on our second set. So here we are with the first segment done. Here's one that I actually made another time that I actually like a little better. I think this is a pattern that looks a little better with slightly bigger rings. I feel like when the rings are too small, everything looks a little bit too tight together. But I'll just give you a close-up here and you can see. So we started out with these 2 rings and this one and the one underneath it. These are our 2 out-jogged rings, and then we have our 4. We have the 2 outside ones that just go around this one, and this one just goes around this one, and the one on the inside goes around the one on here and the 2 middle ones, and the one on this side goes through the 2 middle ones and this outside one. And then that's 4, that's a double, and then another 4, and then it's the same thing in reverse. The butterfly pattern. So I hope you enjoyed that little tutorial on the butterfly pattern made with our copper jump rings. And the next one we're going to do is called the 4-in-1 pattern, which is really a pattern that you can continue so that you can actually make like a sheet of chainmail. We'll see how that goes. See you on the next one.